we're just like the NFL alumni, partnering with them and helping players try to live out their dreams. That dream of being a professional athlete, a professional football player at the highest level.
What is up, my friends, and welcome to another edition of the XFL Week in Review. I'm your host, Mark Perry, editor of XFL News Hub, your alt football media guru. On this week's show is Bryan Scott headed to the Vipers, Brandon Anderson talks Vipers draft, and so much more. And hey, if you're showing up for the first time, if you like football, then like and subscribe to the channel. Let's get it to 70 likes. Hit that notification bell to get alerts when we go live and when we post new content. Exciting times are up ahead in the XFL world, but it's still the holiday season and it's a little on the chill side. So if you want to be part of the show, email podcast@XFL News Hub with your thoughts, record an MP3 or video on your phone. We'll play it on next week's show. Leave a voicemail, 888-430-7692, extension 3. If your video is too big, shoot us a message. We'll give you a link that you can upload your video to. So just email podcast@XFL News Hub and ask for that link, and then you'll have direct access, and then you can upload your phone calls whenever you want, and it'll be on the show. You just let me know, and that'll be done. Simple. If you're having trouble sending it to via email. Also, leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. We appreciate that. On Spotify, we're everywhere where you can get your podcast stuff. So you want to be there. And we are usually live 8 p.m. Eastern every Monday on the Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. However, got another family event today. So this is pre-recorded. Again, next week's show might even be recorded too. I'm not sure yet. XFL timeline, early January 2023. Less than a month away. XFL supplemental draft, January 9th. XFL training camp begins. January 3rd is when XFL coaches and staff all head to Arlington, Texas. So we're less than a month away from people going to Arlington, Texas for XFL training camp. February 18th, 2023. XFL season begins 74 days until XFL kickoff time, my friends. And it's true. Still no Viper Stadium. Has me concerned. We'll have to find out. I'm hoping that this week, because once we get the stadium, then we should be able to get the schedule. I mean, if you want people to buy tickets and you're going to increase the tickets, you need to have the schedule. So the venue thing it's a concern. It should be a concern. I mean, we're here, 30 days from training camp to begin. So we don't have a stadium for one of our teams, or at least it's not announced yet. I'm hoping that this week they have it. If there's all intents and purposes that it's just dotting some I's and crossing some T's. So we'll have to wait and see what happens there. But this is alt football. This is the alt football world. These leagues aren't like they were in the XFL 2.0 era. These are all new people involved. We'll just have to kind of see between the XFL and the USFL. We're just going to see how this shakes out. But we'll have you fully covered with both leagues. All the leagues. You have USFL News Hub working on another podcast for this week. CFL News Hub will also have a podcast this month. I'm saying the USFL will have one this month as well. And then and when we go into the XFL season, we'll have every probably twice a week is what we're going with. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Make sure you join our Discord. Is on Alt Football on Reddit and Discord, and we'll talk about News Hub Fantasy, all this other kind of fun stuff later on the show. But without further ado, folks, let's just get into the week that was the Find the Bumper XFL. Is Bryan Scott headed to the Vegas Vipers? This is from our own Brandon Anderson. So when news broke that Bryan Scott was coming to the XFL in 2023, after appearing on the Jordan Palmer's Instagram account, previewing the quarterbacks he was working with, it started a buzzworthy story that was a changing of the guard for the former Philadelphia Stars quarterback jumping ship to the XFL. With only less than 30 days remaining on most USFL contracts that expire from the 2022 season, Bryan Scott will become a free agent when the clock strikes midnight on the new year. It appears he will be joining a familiar face in Vegas. That familiar face could be being Luis Perez, who has also played in the 2022 USFL season. Now, Bryan Scott himself is now clearly what appears to be teasing that he is joining the Vegas Vipers come the new year, as he dropped some hints on Instagram last week, posting him working out. But in between his photos of him throwing around an XFL football was a picture of Frank Sinatra dealing baccarat in the Sands Casino in Las Vegas back in 1959, along with the location of the photo being Sin City. Of course, there is no indication that Bryan Scott is working out in Vegas in the pictures, but one of the pictures appears he is working out with former Montreal Alouettes veteran receiver Dante Abshire. So there's him. Of course, there's the picture of Sin City working out in Vegas. You ready? And of course, that's the other picture. So we get an idea of kind of what's going down for Bryan Scott. Instead, this is just Bryan Scott teasing us all. It will make quite an exciting training camp, seeing the amount of talent the Vipers already have at quarterback position with Luis Perez, Jalen McClendon. Initially decided we'd see Luis Perez as a starting cap for the Vipers, but now that things may have changed. Now, way back in the day, Bryan Scott posted Go Stars. He said, extremely grateful for the opportunity this season with the USFL and the Philadelphia Stars. This has been such an unbelievable blessing and privilege to play football. Fox Sports and NBC have been credible to the USFL players. Everything about this league has been first class, an absolute honor to be part of. I'm heading home for now to address my injuries. We'll do everything I can to make it back this season for my teammates and coaches. I have the utmost confidence in Coach Andrus, the entire Stars coaching staff, and all my Stars teammates. To all of you who have reached out, I am extremely grateful. It means so much. Looking forward to watching my guys ball out this week. Go Stars. That was Bryan Scott back in May after he got hurt. Scott will be returning to the gridiron game from an injury that happened in week 3 of the USFL season when he was shaping up to be one of the best quarterbacks in the USFL. In week 2, the Philadelphia Stars faced the Pittsburgh Maulers, where he went out and had himself a day, as the Stars noted on Twitter after the game, where he threw 3 touchdowns, 1 rushing touchdown, 26 completions for 36 attempts, 272 total yards. And we can only imagine what could have happened for the Stars if he had gotten hurt. They still made it to the championship game, but, we'll see how that, no one knows. Oddly enough, his possible teammate in Vegas faced off against the Stars in the USFL playoffs when Luis Perez, who was with the New Jersey Generals, who everybody thought was going to win it all, or at least make it to the finals, played against the Stars despite falling short of making the championship game. Could we see Bryan Scott win the Stars championship? We will never know. Stay tuned to XFL News Hub on any developing news, but Bryan Scott looks like he's headed to Vegas. Now, I had Bryan Scott headed to the DC Defenders. There could be a very interesting pick now that, remember, the DC Defenders only really have one quarterback right now. If the Defenders go 4, there's 3 more spots. King is a guy that has already been out there. He just got released from the Panthers not too long ago. So I thought Bryan Scott was headed to DC. There is rumblings that there could be a big name guy headed to DC Defenders. Well, we will just have to wait and find out. But Bryan Scott looks like to be headed to the Vegas Vipers. So now that the XFL has a partnership with the IFL, Indoor Football League, there's definitely some players that were drafted. And here are 3 most notable IFL players drafted to the XFL by Gavin Duran. Now that the XFL draft is all wrapped up and teams are now beginning to get players together for the 2023 season, we can now look at rosters and see a few familiar faces from the IFL. The IFL had 17 players selected to the XFL draft, but there are 3 faces that are most likely going to make a difference to teams in 2023. First up, Katie Cannon, wide receiver, DC Defenders. Starting off the list, the 27-year-old wide receiver Katie Cannon, who was drafted to the DC Defenders in the 3rd round with the 17th pick in this year's XFL draft. Before getting drafted by the DC Defenders, his college career began at Baylor. In his college career, KD combined for 195 receptions, 3,113 receiving yards, and 27 receiving touchdowns. He was named 2014 Freshman All-American, 2016 All-Big 12 First Team, coaches Phil Steele, 2016 Motel 6 Cactus Bowl Offensive MVP. At the Combine, KD ran for a 4.41 40-yard dash and was considered college football's most explosive player by NFL analysts. KD had been on 4 different NFL teams, but started with the 49ers, then the Jets. 2018, he was picked up by the Rams and then the Cowboys. He then moved to the CFL and played with the Saskatchewan Roughriders in 18 and 19, but only played in 3 games. He caught 16 passes for 220 yards, but no touchdowns. The former Baylor wideout has come back to the XFL after playing with two separate teams in 2020. Kitty was drafted by the Wildcats in 2019. Was then waived by the team because of the stacked team at receiver. Kitty happened to find himself being the odd man out when it came down to roster cuts. He was then picked up by the Seattle Dragons. He was on the 9-man practice squad. He never played a snap for them, and his contract was then terminated when the XFL, we all know that. His last experience of football came in 2021 in the IFL, where he played for the Vegas Nighthawks, recorded 33 catches, 422 receiving yards, and 11 receiving touchdowns. Jaquan Artis, a defensive end, was drafted by the Houston Roughnecks in the 11th round, pick 84, the 2022 XFL draft. The 24-year-old defensive end played at Leonore Rhyme Athletics from 2017 to 2019, recorded 29 total sacks, 216 total tackles, and 5 forced fumbles. Jaquan played for the Northern Arizona Wranglers and won Defensive Player of the Year, Defensive Rookie of the Year, All Defensive First Team in his rookie season. In his first rookie season of the Northern Arizona, Jaquan had 9.5 sacks, 17.5 tackles for losses, and 40 tackles, which is why he had so many selections for awards at the end of the season. While there during his rookie season, he helped their defense win a championship in the 2022 and won the championship MVP for getting an impressive 2 sacks, 2 tackles for losses, and 5 tackles to end the game. The Roughneck just got what could be a steal due to him being only 24. This move proves long-term depth at the defensive line. Santos Ramirez, safety, the 7th round with the 52nd pick. The DC Defenders choose former Arkansas safety Santos Ramirez. Santos, who is 26-year-old, started his journey with Arkansas and played there from 15 to 18. Recorded 229 total tackles, 3 INTs, and 1 defensive touchdown during his time there, and was elected captain in 2018 for his senior season. Santos was then signed to the Jets in 2019 and didn't play a snap, but rather got drafted to the XFL for a better shot at showing what he could do. Played for the Seattle Dragons in 2020, but only got to play, of course, whatever happened. He got 9 total tackles for his XFL stint. 2021, decided to join the IFL, play for the Frisco Fighters, where he got to show what he could really do when given the chance. 50 total tackles, 6 INTs of 5 pass breakups. That's why the DC Defenders chose the Arkansas safety with the 52nd pick in the draft. So there you got your guys to check out. Katie Cannon from the DC Defenders, wide receiver. Jaquan Artis, defensive end with the Roughnecks. And then Santos Ramirez also with the DC Defenders. And hey, this is an exciting partnership between the IFL and the XFL where they can move players around. So this is something after the XFL season to follow Indoor Football League to see what's going on with some of these guys, maybe that played in the XFL, but never really had a chance to play in the XFL, and now they'll get their shot in the Indoor Football League. This working of the two should really be beneficial for both leagues, especially for the IFL, for their season coming up in 2023. XFL names Wendy Bass Chief Business and Legal Officer. So the XFL did have some announcements. They announced that Bass will oversee legal, people operations, and technological departments, be responsible for the league's broadcast partnership with the Walt Disney Company and ESPN. She will oversee the league's betting and gaming efforts and will assist in collaboration with league sponsors. Bass will report to Russ Brandon. Quote, Wendy brings a wealth of industry knowledge, and her business and legal background will help us navigate our ever-evolving growth cycle, said Brandon. We are excited to add her to the team. Bass joins the XFL from NBC Sports Group, where she served as Senior Vice President of Programming and Rights Management, overseeing programming, digital media, and acquisitions while managing digital strategies and partnerships. With NBC Sports Group, she led the relationships and negotiations with the company's linear and digital partners from 2017 to 2020. Bass co-led the NBC Sports Women's Network Employee Resource Group and transitioned to the executive champion from 2020 to 2022. She also served on Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion DEI Council as co-head of the DEI People Committee. Bass originally joined NBC in 2005, served a previous stint as the organization's Senior Vice President of Business and Legal Affairs. She oversaw the negotiation and administration of major national and regional broadcast rights agreements, including pacts with the NFL, NASCAR, Premier League, and FIFA. Bass also supervised contracts for premier on-air talent. For joining NBC Bass was an associate at Cahill, Gordon, and Rindale from 2002 to 2005, focusing on securities transactions and general corporate law. Before beginning her legal career, she worked at the NBA as an account executive in the marketing partnerships division from 1997 to 99. Graduate from Pennsylvania with a bachelor's degree in international relations and French. She played for the women's soccer team during her time at Penn. Bess later received a Juris Doctorate from Fordham University School of Law, where she managing editor for the Fordham Sports Law Association and vice president of the Student Bar Association. So somebody who has got a lot of clout coming in the XFL, and people, they're still adding people to the XFL, and these announcements, we should be getting more of them as the weeks get closer to the XFL season. The XFL adds Brooke Campbell as Senior Vice President. So the XFL announced that Brooke Campbell has joined the league as Senior Vice President of Team Services. Campbell will be the liaison between the league's business operations department, ticketing, communications, marketing, game presentations, partnerships, digital, and content, and all 8 teams to implement the best business practice and should create a synergistic opportunities while curating each market's unique demands. She will report to Janet Dutch, Chief Marketing and Content Officer. In the role, Campbell will manage day-to-day business operations for the XFL's 8 teams, including develop a consultative model to optimize market inputs and executing growth strategies in local markets. As the XFL prepares for its 2023 season, she will also implement and lead community-focused engagement initiatives to promote team and league awareness and build a unique fandom in each city. Once the season begins, Campbell will oversee team activations, game day operations, and fan experiences. So this is the stuff that you guys listening here are worried about. Quote, engaging with the local community is a top priority for the league, and Brooke provides the strategic expertise and perspective we need across our team markets, added Dutch. She brings an incredible background with some world-class organizations to the XFL and has quickly become an invaluable team member, helping us identify and prioritize team and league initiatives. Now, Campbell joins the XFL from Phoenix Suns Legacy Partners, where she most recently served as VP of Marketing and Brand Strategy for the Phoenix Suns, Mercury, and Footprint Center. While there, she directed and oversaw marketing, creative and content, game, entertainment, community relations, and retail operations. She was also an integral team member responsible for the branding, marketing, communications surrounding the $230 million arena renovation. Before joining the Phoenix Suns Legacy Partner, she was Director of Marketing for the Brooklyn Nets, Director of Marketing and Game Position for the Islanders, all right, Long Island. She also worked in college athletics at her alma mater, the University of Virginia. She was responsible for marketing and developing over 20 individual sports brands and overall UVA athletic brand. After completing her MBA, Campbell broke into the sports industry with the Eagles, spent 2 seasons developing strategic marketing campaigns for NFL franchises. A native of Charlottesville, Virginia, no wonder why she went to UVA. She lived right there, basically, right? Campbell earned a BS in Commerce at the University of Virginia, an MBA at Darden School of Business. Erica Moman, this is the interesting part, who previously held the Senior Vice President Team Services position, has been promoted to Chief Revenue Officer, overseeing the XFL's portfolio of corporate partnerships for the leagues and its teams. Quote, the interest in our corporate partner program has been outstanding, and with the addition of Brooke, Erica will be able to focus her time and energy on building out the roster of corporate partners. Sir Russ Brandon, president of the XFL, her experience helps us bring together our league's asset and business operations to maximize value and crossover opportunities for our partners. So Erica Moman moves out of this position into a different position, and you notice, I mean, I'm not blaming anybody whatever, but one of the things, executing growth strategies in local markets, and also talked about ticketing, marketing, digital content, all teams implementation, creating synergistic opportunities. She also There was something in here where talked about local. Campbell will oversee team activations, game day operations, and that we know that team activations thing was kind of might have been too much for, they maybe needed more people. And so they brought somebody who has a ton of experience in Brooke Campbell to do it, and moved Erica Moman, who really had experience more with when she was with the Buffalo Bills. The whole synergy with all the Buffalo Bills, former Buffalo Bills workers. She was a former Buffalo Bills. Now she moves over. Brooke Campbell is now in. And we will see how these people do. I mean, we've got a lot of sports. There's still a lot of things that need to happen for this XFL. We're only a month away from training camp really to begin. So, it's really important that this league kind of gets its footing and get ready to go. All right, we'll take a commercial break. We'll be back with Brandon Anderson stuff and so much more right after this. Stay tuned, my friends.
Fan-controlled football. You heard that right. Fan-controlled football. A real football league with real players controlled by real fans. All in real time. Register to try out at fcf.io.
What's up, Vegas Viper Nation? This is Brandon Anderson here on XFLNewsHub.com. We are talking about the Vegas Vipers draft, and what a magnificent draft the Vegas Vipers put together. Head coach Rod Woodson and staff put a team together that I would rank up there with one of the top teams that have come out of the XFL draft. And I mean, we can't forget about the two amazing quarterbacks that were selected in the quarterback selection the night before the draft, with Jalen McClendon and Luis Perez. I mean, Luis Perez himself is a spring football legend. There's no doubt about that. He is on my Mount Rushmore for spring football. Definitely is amazing quarterback, coming from the USFL with the New Jersey Generals. And then the list before that goes on and on and on with the NFL and different spring leagues around the country. So what did the Vegas Vipers do this season? Well, they drafted a total of 56 players, including the two quarterbacks. 5 of those players were from the USFL, 4 total from the Michigan Panthers. Something about those Michigan Panthers and Jeff Fisher's coaching staff that drew in a lot of players to at least to the Vegas Vipers team. And then we have 11 former XFL players from the 2020 season. 37 of those 56 players have pro experience that includes any spring league, NFL, things like that. 34 of the players on the roster have NFL experience being on rosters. And then, of course, the players range from the age of 21 to 30. Big names that I was shocked to see drafted definitely was Martavius Bryant, wide receiver. He is a legend. He was very good despite some of his troubles he had. He was really good in Pittsburgh with the Steelers. Then you have Jeff Badette. Anybody that knows the XFL in 2020 knows Jeff Badette's name from the Dallas Renegades. And then, of course, he had a short stint with the Michigan Panthers before getting injured. And then we have Atlanta Falcons legend himself, Vic Beasley, on the other side of the ball in the defense. That is just, it's crazy to think how great of players that the Vegas Vipers got. They got a lot of legends, and their age range between the 21 and 30 really kind of balanced the team out. But they definitely have a lot of pro experience throughout the entire team, which should go very well. It remains to be seen of obviously where Vegas will be playing, but we can guarantee you that they have quite the roster to get things going. And then, of course, we still have the supplemental draft. And then, of course, I talked about it the other day here on XFLNewsHub.com, and that is none other than Bryan Scott, former Philadelphia Stars quarterback, who has rumored or teased, per se, that he is coming to Vegas for the 2023 season for the Vipers. We'll find out about that probably shortly after the 2022 contracts expire for the USFL, which is on December 31st. But we definitely look forward to covering more of the Vegas Vipers and looking to basically give you any insight that I can find. Anytime the announcement comes up about the stadium, I will have that here first on XFLNewsHub.com. And waiting for those season tickets to go on sale so I can join the Vegas Viper Nation in Vegas for those home games. Make sure to check me out. I'm on Twitter and Instagram at Branderson1987. And then, of course, you can find me as well on YouTube on the Comeback Period, an XFL show on YouTube that I host my venture outside of the XFL News Hub. So again, thank you again, Mark, for this opportunity to talk about the Vegas Vipers, and look forward to seeing them on the field in just a couple months. Have a great one, everyone. See you back here for more news.
All right, we are back again. Thank Brandon Anderson for being on the program. You can check out all of his. We'll put his social stuff in the comment and in the description and all that stuff. You can find him all over Twitter and check out all of his stuff he's got going on there. We appreciate him checking in. We'll have more from our XFL News Hub writers as they kind of give their take, and they will be appearing on this show throughout the whole season, just recording stuff, putting on the show, and just to be able to chance to either sometimes they'll be live or sometimes they'll be, taped, like that kind of stuff. So we appreciate Brandon, and we will have more of those video type of videos coming as we build up towards the XFL season, which is not too far away. One of the things I want to talk about real quick, as mentioned, is News Hub Fantasy Football. So you could sign up right now. We have a Listeners League. Email me, podcast@XFL News Hub, if you want to be part of the Listeners League, and you can be part of that and join. We've got data in there from the draft. We also, speaking of data, I forgot to point this out, but we actually have on the website, which is pretty cool, draft results. That's right. We actually were able to use the data that we got from the draft. And now, if you go to XFL News Hub and click on the top of the, it's in the menu, XFL draft results. We got a list that contains the draft. You can go check out the QB that were taken. You can check out the offensive skill positions, who was drafted, defensive backs, defensive front seven, offensive line, the open draft. And what's cool about all of this stuff is that it is sortable and searchable. That's right, sortable and searchable. So what you can see here is, here's the draft of the offensive skill players. Each one has their own page, so you can check out a little bit more about like their hometown and that kind of stuff, where they were drafted, and then you can just type in, like if you just type in AB, it will lower the thing. If you want to see all the running backs that were taken in the XFL draft, you can just type in RB, and it will give you all the running backs. So, or if if you have a school that you wanted, so if I did Maryland, was anybody from the University of Maryland? We may get Mary Hardin Baylor, but not University of Maryland. So you get an idea there. So that's all up for you on XFL News Hub. Hope you enjoy that. Wanted to get into our fantasy football league. That playoff is coming down to the wire. We still have a week or so left, and that one, I think I'm in the hunt. I'm in the hunt for that one, but I'm more excited about talking XFL fantasy football, and we'll be doing that coming up here real soon. Let's get to your social media stuff real quick. Let's hit the Facebook. We'll do that first. Here's the Facebook. About Bryan Scott. Michael says this would give the Vipers 4 quarterbacks upcoming season. No guarantee he makes the team. I mean, that's a good point, too. There's no guarantees in the XFL. I mean, you got all these guys coming in. If you got 4 quarterbacks, only one can play. So who is it going to be? Scott was taking his chances with the XFL. He was a starter in the USFL. Coming to the XFL Vipers, it's going to be real interesting having 4 quarterbacks and who is going to be the starter. That's something we're going to have to keep an eye on as XFL fans. But he's absolutely right. There's no guarantee that he would be the de facto starter. There's a lot of other players like Luis Perez, for example, out there, and Jalen McClellan too. On the Instagram about B. Scott, will the Vipers actually have a stadium to play in this year? That is from Alex McCorva. XFL Viper fan says, let's go. Snelly76, I don't like that. Him and Perez are going to be 2 of the best in the league. I'd rather put them both in situations to play than have one sit. And Nick Larskarkaby says, best QB in the room. We'll find out. Did they put Luis Perez in there as like a veteran, piece? 4 quarterbacks. I mean, it's, that whole thing. I mean, and they're basically going to have a month to figure out who's going to be the starting quarterback for these teams for the XFL season. So that's going to be something interesting and fun to watch as we build closer. And it's really, once we kind of get that supplemental draft in place, definitely the speculation is going to be, and we're going to be ranking them on XFL News Hub about who is the top guys for who could make the roster. But we won't know. We're not going to know. And then what does a guy like Bryan Scott do? I mean, let's say if Bryan Scott is not the starter, it's McClendon, it's Luis Perez, and he's 3rd or 4th on the depth chart. Is he like, all right, I'm out of here, I'm going to play in the USFL? That can happen too. There's a lot of moving parts, so we're going to have to see how this all plays out. So the next month is going to be interesting, and then leading from the XFL season, the USFL season. I don't know. I mean, people ask me like, who's going to win the race? I would say it's 50-50 at this point. Who is going to win the USFL or XFL in the end? Because, I mean, there's just, the Vegas thing is kind of questionable. The USFL, as much as people were complaining, they're sticking to their plan. But is it too slow of a growth? Do they have a long-term plan? Will it last long-term? How are they going to compete with the players? How these leagues are going to work? Right now, I'm like, who's going to win the race? I just don't know. I mean, is Danny Garcia and The Rock have chewing on too much stuff? They have too many things going on where the people that were involved in the USFL are just focused on the USFL only. It's just a lot of things, we're just going to have to wait and see how it all transpires. On to the YouTubes. Oliver Thomas 1288 coming soon. The XFL, Zach Wilson and Baker Mayfield. Did you hear today? Baker Mayfield requested his release. I don't think he's coming to the XFL. Deep 8276 says, shout, that would be dope if they did play on the strip. Yeah, we'll see about that. Jared says, I love all the thanks to Dwayne and Danny for making the XFL. Agree with you there. Badger Garden says, did the Vipers get a stadium or will they be playing their games in the middle of the Vegas Strip? We're just going to have to find out. All reports say that they have a stadium in place. They're just hammering out the details. That's been what we've been hearing. So take that for what you will. On to the emails real quick. Leando Braxton says, I've been in my nephew's dream to play professional football. Today, the Guardians has fulfilled the dream. He's an amazing guy and did not take the traditional route to get to the level he's at. He went to a small junior college and was picked up by the Minnesota Gophers, transferred to Oregon State, played his final year in college. Got a super pick, and Orlando will not be disappointed. So, Leando Braxton, so somebody from the Guardians, Braxton, a lot of families are excited to see, this is what's the beauty of the USFL and XFL. It's giving these guys a chance. There's plenty of players that want to continue to play professional football. And I'm really excited to see guys have a nice long career, 5 or 6 seasons in the XFL or the USFL. I think that would be fantastic for the sport. And remember, gambling, people love to gamble. And then, as more of these states go online, Maryland just came online with now in-game gambling stuff. I'm like, man, these spring leagues are definitely going to get more and more eyeballs as time goes on. And once they establish themselves, both leagues need to realize that there is an after effect of the AAF collapsing and then the XFL. I mean, I know it was that caused the league to shut down, but still Vince McMahon could have held on to the league and tried to restart it later on, but it did go to bankruptcy and it was purchased. There were other people interested besides The Rock, Danny Garcia, and Redbird Capital. You see, there is that hangover and that little angst. However, I've heard, a couple of the cities like St. Louis and DC are selling tickets really well with really no push whatsoever. And, and there's still a lot of, job positions that are still open. XFL is waiting to the last possible minute to bring on people because they don't want to blow through that cash. So these guys are also kind of coming at it from a different perspective. And everybody complain. I mean, really, we see it all over social media. Most people who are on social media just love to complain about stuff. that the complaint is, the league, it's not doing enough on social media. It's not doing enough, this, that, and the other thing. Everybody's taking the slow approach, and both leagues are doing that. We thought maybe the XFL 3.0 era was going to take what the 2.0 era did, which is just kind of come out the gates guns a-blazing. They're kind of taking the USFL approach as well, not bringing people on until the last month that they need them. Remember, they don't need these people once the season's over. They don't need them year round, but they're going to be on staff. So that's why the league is kind of waiting till the last minute to bring on people. The other aspect too that no one's considering is that no one wants to work anymore in this country. So that's a problem too, is that you're having, a job market that's not the same as it was in the 2.0 era. Even though the XFL is giving people opportunity to work remotely and all sorts of stuff. So, there's different things are occurring this time in the XFL season. So this is something to think about. All right, my friends, that's it for this week's show. If you want to be part, podcast at XFL News Hub. Leave a voicemail, 888-430-7692, extension 3. And leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. We always appreciate that as well. Spread the word out. Remember to, if you like spring football, if you like fall football, if you like any kind of football, hit the like button, subscribe to our channel. Let's get this to 60 likes, hit that notification bell. But remember, just subscribe and like this video, spread the word about the XFL. Things are going to go like gangbusters, as definitely when we reach into January. It was quiet last week. We just got a couple of announcements of some hires. I expect the same kind of stuff this week. And really, the big announcement is going to be what the Vegas Vipers are going to play on. If I were them, I wouldn't wait till January. You got to put that out in there. I mean, remember, here's the other thing, too, about season tickets. It's not like they're making money off of the season tickets. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not really like a major factor. So it makes you wonder what kind of TV contract the XFL has. So remember, also, check out our Alt Football on Reddit, just to type in Alt Football. Remember, News Hub Fantasy for playing XFL Fantasy Football. That's it. All right. For show notes, go to xflnewshub.com/xfl-podcast. Join our Discord channel as well. All right. Thanks for listening. God bless as always. Mahalo. I always forget to say that at the end. And I will see you all later. Have a good week.